Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Albuquerque Film and Music Experience, Day 6. What a phenomenal week we have had. And this Q&A after the block of documentaries is going to be absolutely fantastic. Glad you could join us. Before we get started, wanted to thank our sponsors, AFME Foundation, Albuquerque Film Office and Film Liaison Cindy McCrawson, Albuquerque the Magazine, Bernalillo County Commissioner Stephen Michael Quezada, Brezza Terrena Olive Oil, Comcast NBC Universal, Real Solutions Airport Meet and Greet Service, Sunny 505, the Baker Law Group, University of New Mexico Film and Digital Arts, Wells Fargo Advisors and Larry Schwartz, Yamaha Entertainment Group, and Jouska Road Productions. If you've been joining us all week, you already know this, but go to our website, AFMXNM.com, for the complete lineup of films, center stage conversations, and Q&As with filmmakers. Don't worry if you missed something. You can access everything that's happened throughout the entire week already and this weekend's events. Without further ado, let's jump into this. I want to introduce our Director of Operations, Kira Seipler. Kira, great to see you this morning. Or this afternoon.
No, good afternoon. Yes, what day is it today? Oh, it's day 6. It's been a wonderful experience. We've been having a lot of fun during our conversations and our Q&A sessions. So thank you for everybody who has participated. I just want to give a quick shout out and a huge thank you to our technical director, Melody K. Carlisle, for which none of this can happen. Thank you, Melody. I just want to also say there has been a change in the schedule. Please note that our center stage conversation with Buffy St. Marie that was scheduled for Friday is scheduled for Sunday, September 26th at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. So I hope you can make it. And like Ivan said, if you need tickets, go to AFMXNM.com. Also, to remind you, for our film blocks, you are able to vote for your Audience Choice Awards. If you have not yet seen the films, don't worry about it. Like Ivan said, you can go right back in until October 11th to watch the films, but we need you to vote by tomorrow. On Sunday, September 26th at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we will have our award ceremony live on Facebook. So check out our Facebook page for more details on that. Before we get going on our Q&A session today with moderator Andrea Hayes, I want to note that this will be recorded. So if you miss anything, you can catch it online until October 11th. And if you wish to give questions to the filmmakers, please do so in the chat box on the page. We will make sure to make every effort to have all of your questions answered. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Andrea Hayes. I had to put on my glasses because I can't see. Andrea Hayes has been involved in theater and film since the 1960s. She is a wizard, truly, working behind the scenes on sets and costume designs, special effects, makeup, props, sometimes strays in front of the camera too. She's awesome. She is internationally known for her iconic giggle and role as Heidi in all 3 seasons of Twin Peaks and The Firewalk. With me. 25 years as a charge nurse, she has developed her skills as a producer, winning several festival awards for her work. Andrea has designed costumes for several films, including 7 that were shown at the Academy Award qualifying Holly Shorts. She is on the director's staff for the Seattle Film Summit and was recently elected to the Board of Women in Film and will serve as the new workshop chair. She is producing a feature in 2022 entitled Early in the Morning. Please welcome Andrea Hayes.
Wow, that looks great on paper. Wow. Yeah. Hi, thanks for having me. And I'm very, very excited. This was my choice to do this block of films because I love both of these films. So I'd like to introduce who went first in the lineup. Was it One Dive or Zero Gravity? Just so we're with a, okay, so I'd like to introduce Shannon Unser and Changing Lives One Dive at a Time, and Thomas Veretti
That's great.
where zero gravity. And he brought Penka, I am not going to try your last name, you will have to say it, who was the composer for the wonderful score for Zero Gravity. And we will be speaking with Shannon first. So Shannon, who'd you bring with you today?
Well, this is pretty much the inspiration of the film right here. This is my sister, Cody Unser. And she's the reason why, you know, we made the documentary, because she's the reason why we were able to take the kids and get them open water certified. Her and my mom created the Cody Unser First Step Foundation. And that was the whole inspiration behind the film, was to bring awareness. And basically we want to create like a better quality of life for people with disabilities, and scuba diving is one of those things that they can do. And so this is Cody. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Cody. Thanks. I mean, you know, it was so wonderful to see. I hate the word inspiration porn. I hate inspiration porn. I'm sure you do too. And when I was watching the film, I was like, oh, thank goodness. It just tells the story of, you know, of people learning to scuba dive, and you know, didn't dive into the like, oh, anyone else would have shut themselves away. No. So tell us about how it got started. Why diving?
Oh man. Well, I'll keep the story brief, but so I became paralyzed when I was 12 years old due to transverse myelitis. So before then, I was an active kid. We, you know, grew up in auto racing. So as kids, we were always on the go, always very active on jet skis,
four-wheelers, snowmobiles, you name it.
We were always just very active, and not only that, but also in sports. So I was playing basketball and had a hard time catching my breath out of nowhere, and my left leg went completely numb once they put me in the locker rooms, and my right leg was like tingling. So in a matter of 20-30 minutes, my life completely changed. I became paralyzed from the chest line down. So after rehab and learning how to live with a paralyzed body, learning how to dress myself, bathe myself, learning how the wheelchair operates, I knew this happened to me for a reason, and I wanted to do something about it. So my mom and I started the Cody Unser First Step Foundation, which really focused on three sort of initiatives. One is awareness of transverse myelitis, because it is a rare autoimmune disorder that gets misdiagnosed quite frequently. The second thing is we do a lot of advocacy work. I work with a lot of other organizations like the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation to really push quality of life programs for people with disabilities and spinal cord injury. And then we have our quality of life program, which is really about scuba diving. And how that came about was our older brother, Al, just kind of, you know, he turned to my mom and was like, we got to do something. Cody's really depressed, really angry. We can't go on like this. We got to do something. And so our parents and our older brother Al got certified before I was 12, which 12 is like the age where you can become certified. So I knew it was something I wanted to do before I became paralyzed. But, you know, the thing is that for people with disabilities, we live in this concrete world, right? We're always trying to navigate accessibility. And the thing with scuba diving is that there is no limits. And it really does provide and give you the feeling of what's possible. And I didn't know that was ever going to happen, or I never knew that feeling was ever going to come to me because I was paralyzed. I thought my life was over. This is it. So with scuba diving, you know, my older brother, Al, just kind of pushed me into it and was like, you're going to do this. I know it's going to be hard. The wetsuits are really challenging to get on for anybody, for able-bodied people as well. But so I learned, and the fascinating thing was I was learning something that was challenging and inspiring, because I thought that everything for the rest of my life was just going to be challenging around the chair and the paralyzed body. That was it. That's all I was going to experience. And so with scuba diving, it let me know life's not over, life's okay. I can do this. I can rock this. So we wanted to offer this to other people. I turned to my mom. It was on the boat back after I got my certification dive in. And I was like, Mom, we got to start a quality of life program. I got to give this feeling back. I feel like, all right, I can do this. Like, I want to go to college now. I want to learn how to drive. It just opened up the world of possibility. And that's what we wanted to give and continue to give to people with disabilities. So for the last 22 years, that's what we've been doing. And I'm so happy my sister and my family really got to sort of be on this mission with me. And we're going to continue to change people's lives one dive at a time.
That's awesome. I know personal story here. I have a sister who uses a wheelchair, and before the American Disabilities Act, and just to see the strides, it's still a long way to go, as you know. But just the changes since that act, people don't realize that just the simplest thing, like, yeah, sure, you can overcome it and have a Lifetime movie made about you, but it's the struggle. And what can the able-bodied people of the world do to help that situation?
Yeah, great question. And first, before I go into that, I really just want to thank all of you and AFMX for giving, for choosing our film and really kind of giving us this platform. Because I think visually seeing something that's powerful and moving really does change lives and really does kind of push people toward a better future. So, but yeah, so if people would want to get involved and kind of want to help with this mission, we have a new group of people, 4 of them actually with spinal cord injury. So the film documented, young adults with spina bifida and cerebral palsy, but we do, we help all people with disabilities. So this next trip, we're in fundraising mode because, a lot of people don't think what goes into it, pulling off a trip like this. It's airfare, it's hotel accommodations, stay, the dive boat operation. I never wanted to, and I don't want to charge somebody with a disability to come on one of our trips. So we already deal with enough financial burden from having a disability. So, so if anybody wants to get involved, our website is, I'm rebuilding it. But you can go to www.codysfirststep.org, and there's a donate now button on there. And anything you can give is, really appreciate, it's not $100 or, anything small really does help. So.
And I think Kira's going to put that up so people can donate. And yes, I'll be donating later after this conversation.
Oh, thank you.
So, and also just talking to the audience, Cody, look for the simplest things in your town. Are there curb cuts when you're walking along the sidewalk? Things accessible? Are the bathrooms accessible? And people don't understand what that means for, yeah, sure, men can roll right up, but women, they have to transfer. So as you know, when you go to check into a hotel and they're going, oh yes, our bathrooms are accessible. Well, I got in, so, just little things that you can do and get involved, not just and donate to the foundation, but just to help out, because we've got to help each other and make it a little easier.
Yeah, it's funny that we're in today's age, we're still fighting for, greater accessibility. But I think what's so powerful about the film and what Shannon was able to capture was the fact that, it's funny that we have to fight on land for things that make a difference in our daily activities and in our management of our, disabled bodies, but yet we're able to go and dive right into an ocean and explore and, be in an environment that is not discriminatory towards you. So yeah, it's awesome.
There aren't any stairs in the ocean. Well, not to my knowledge.
And there's no gravity in the ocean either.
Zero gravity, yes.
So, gravity plays a huge part when you're on the surface, whereas when they get to get out of their chairs and not be attached to them and not be attached to the ground and the gravity anymore, the water really allows them to be free. And to watch all the kids grow up and go from, first their intro to, I wasn't there personally for the intro, but I had some footage that I was able to use, but I did go on the trip with them, and they have just grown up so much. They've become like young adults who just can conquer anything and everything. You know, Parker and his dad, we were just talking to them, and they just went on a trip together, father, son, another scuba trip without us, you know, so it's great to see like that it really did change their lives, and it's impacting them to be able to like go further now. And it's not just secluded to just the trip they went on with us. So
now you're planning another trip. You would tell us about that. Are you filming it, or is it?
Yes, we plan to. We hope to document more from beginning to end. We did just do an intro to scuba here at the Rio Rancho Aquatic Center with the Scuba Company here in Albuquerque. And we had many people, locals, who came out and tried it and are now signed up to get certified. And people with disabilities and people without, like all across the board. And so we're hoping to take them. Cody was just talking about the next trip is with the 4 individuals who have spinal cord injuries, and that's what we're fundraising for now, for
to
next
take
summer.
them back to Key Largo. They all come from Kennedy Krieger Institute, which they do inpatient but also outpatient rehab for people with spinal cord injuries. So that's, you know, my foundation, the Cody Unser First Step Foundation, has partnered with the Kennedy Krieger Institute in order to make this possible for their patients. So we're taking 4 individuals with spinal cord injury, all various different levels of paralysis, and their stories are very different. But what's cool about it is they got to choose like a loved one to learn how to dive with, because that's the whole point, is about inclusion, right? Not just signaling out, you know, it's not like a disabled camp where it's just you're serving people with disabilities. It's really about including everybody, and the family does get impacted, right? Like my sister and I, we were very close, you know, before I became paralyzed. We used to do dances and drove our parents crazy.
We had routines. They had to buy tickets to come see our routine.
So
We were in cheerleading together, gymnastics, ice skating. And so, yeah, when she became paralyzed, it sort of was like I had to mourn that part of my sister, but then also welcome this new part and be able to scuba dive with her is like kind of has helped that.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, paralysis really does affect the entirety of the family. So, but the next trip that we're planning is going to be for 2022 back in Key Largo, and we just need help getting the people down there. So, yeah.
All right. So give now. All right. Well, thank you. And we're going to be taking questions later, but we're going to shift over to another wonderful documentary, Zero Gravity, produced and directed by Thomas Verretti. And Thomas, would you like to tell us a little bit about your documentary and how it came to be?
Sure. You know, thank you very much for, you know, having our film, and just to Shannon and Cody real fast as well. I had this Zero Gravity, you know, there's been a lot of people who have kind of outreached us you know, for a STEM organization perspective, but one of them was an organization called Mission Astro Access, which is basically focusing on providing people with disabilities the same access to STEM and space, actually, that able-bodied people have as well. So I just wanted to share that with you before I kind of go into.
Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
But Zero Gravity was we shot in 2017. It actually happened really fast. My executive producer, he had a contact at MIT, and MIT is responsible for putting on the Zero Robotics program, which is what's featured in the film. And he had the idea of going and shooting a short film to see if there was like how it would all go, just because the idea of kids coding satellites in space was something that was hard to wrap our heads around, really. And so we basically went to the orientation, which is what you see in the very beginning of the film, and met all the teachers. And, you know, when they're talking about coding satellites and trying to make a GPS system around Mars, and they're all kind of freaked out about what that even means or how that's even possible. We're all sitting there filming this with the same looks on our face, like, is this really about to happen in front of us? And I just became captivated from that moment to see where that story would take or take me, really. And met Tanner, who's the teacher in the film, and just, you know, why I chose him was really because my experience as a kid in school was, you know, I have a couple of teachers that I remember still to this day that really had an immense impact on me. And I was looking for somebody like that to inspire the kids around them. He had never done it before, was really excited, and had a lot of interest in space. And so it all kind of happened very organically in a way. Like for me, it was a personal journey just because I always wanted to make a film about space at some point in my life. Just from as a kid, that was, you know, like Apollo 13 was one of my favorite films. And there's even a couple of shots in the film that I sort of was like, tried to get in the right place at the right time, that, like, you know, for a slow-mo shot or something to represent zero gravity on the ground in the film. And that, a lot of that was really just from being inspired by other filmmakers, and Ron Howard in that case in particular. So the whole thing was, you know, to kind of wrap it all up, it was just something that I just fell in love with as I went. And that's really where the movie came from. And, you know, watching those students, you know, each week kind of come into that class with like so much more confidence and knowledge about what they were doing. It was amazing to see how fast they were growing up in front of my eyes. I don't have kids myself, so that was really my first experience where I got to see kind of how important it was for kids to have access to all sorts of different types of, you know, in this case, it was STEM career paths, but the lessons that they learned and where they might take those, whether they do STEM or in the future or not. It was just such a profound experience for me that I had to basically finish telling that story. You know, even though we shot in 2017, it was really the pandemic that allowed me to finish the film, because, you know, it's a passion project of mine, and I'm, you know, I financed it myself, and I had to do it in between whenever I was working to pay bills and things like that. And so, you know, when everything shut down in the pandemic, I sort of took that as an opportunity to finally finish this film, not just even for me, but for the kids who gave me all their time and believed in me to tell their stories. And you know, we finally finished it and are here now with all of you. So, you know, thank you very much to all of you who have watched it and are supporting what we're trying to do, which is basically to raise awareness about STEM and how close space is, and how important that is for the future of our, you know, of the world, really. I mean, it's a universal language, coding. So it's something that over the course of making this film just became, you know, just really important for me to be able to try to share how my point of view was watching them do it in front of me, and to share their stories, really.
So how did you go about choosing that particular classroom as opposed to anywhere else in the nation that was doing this contest?
That's a great question. Initially it was because of the Silicon Valley connection, with tech and coding jobs, you know, and being so prevalent in that area in particular, and people getting priced out of their homes, and just for the massive amount of growth that's happening in that area. I thought it was important to make that connection to the students, and to you know, because that was their reality. If they can't find good jobs in that area, they're like, just how massive that industry is growing and continues to grow. And it's obviously not just in Silicon Valley anymore, but it's a very easy one for people to grasp. So that was the original reason why I chose San Jose. And then the class in particular, again, that was because I met Tanner at the orientation, and I believed that his charisma was inspiring to me already. And so my thought was, if he can do that to me, he can absolutely do that to the kids. And that's how I found the kids, essentially, was just by believing that he might be the teacher that can inspire them. and sort of that was kind of the belief to see where it would go. And it, of course, turned into a whole entire feature film, but I didn't know it was going to be that in the beginning, honestly.
No, it was awesome. So we do have questions coming in for you, Thomas. Are there any documentaries you can recommend to the audience to further the message of your film, aside from your own film, of course, because everybody should watch that.
Thank you. You know, STEM is actually something that I haven't seen a whole lot of in documentaries in particular. It's kind of a new, it's hard to actually make exciting first, I think, for foremost. It's obviously very important, but to tell a story in real time about a journey through STEM is, I think, what is unique about Zero Gravity. But there's a lot of space documentaries. Actually, Katie Coleman, who one of the astronauts in the film, is in another documentary that's out right now called The Wonder, I think is what it's called, or The Wonderful. It's about stories of astronauts on the space station. So that would be one that just came out that I could recommend, in particular because we share some of the same information, and Katie's story is amazing and beautiful and inspirational as well.
Okay, Shannon, same question to you. Any docs other than yours, again, because everybody should watch it and give to your foundation?
Well, I think you've heard of this, Crip Camp. Crip Camp is a documentary on Netflix, and it's about the ADA, that whole
The disability rights movement.
Yeah, the disability rights movement. That's a really important film. I think anyone and everyone should watch. It's not really in regards to scuba diving, but it's more about you know, the disability rights. And another one I would say is not so much about scuba diving, but if you've ever seen the movie Sessions, that's, I think, really important, because our next film we're going to be doing is specifically around women with disabilities and their sexual health. And I think that's also another film that could kind of give you a better sense or idea of, you know, the problems people with disabilities face that people don't really think matters, but it's a huge part of our lives, right? So, yeah.
And we haven't forgotten you, Penka. So we do have, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, and then we do have questions coming in. So Penka, were there any particular sounds or music you had in mind when you composed the score? And just take us on the journey on how you came to get that wonderful score.
Thank you. I got introduced to Thomas via a mutual friend, the director, Paul Salamoff, and that was fantastic. We met at his birthday party. As a composer, my duty is to really understand the vision and the hopes of the director and embody that vision in emotion, which is what the music does. So we talked about the mystery of space, and we talked about the fragility of space, and also we talked about the innocence of the children. And he really liked that opening track, the one that's at the beginning of the film, of documentary. And then my job was to create a lot of material from that original piece of music. So we worked really closely together. It was like the darkest depth. It was like November, December of the lockdown. We couldn't visit in person, but we only worked through Zoom. And he was an incredibly inspiring collaborator with a very clear vision, what he wanted emotionally. And the couple of times we kind of had to adjust things because I was going for more, you know, kind of positive emotion. He was like, you know, let's keep it real, let's keep it authentic. And also it was really, really important for me to contribute to a project that includes people that I identify myself with. I was a child, I was that child, the geeky, the curious, you know, the girl that was interested in space and technology, although I became a musician. So I was incredibly inspired to be working with Thomas. He was an amazing collaborator.
And can we get the score anywhere? Can you download it? Are you selling it? Or
We're planning to have a release of the soundtrack. It will coincide with the release of the film, so stay tuned. It will definitely be released, yes.
Awesome, because for those of you who watched the film, I know we're used to the soundtrack and the score of films, like, you know, music can make or break a film, and for documentaries it's even harder, I would imagine, because it's like,
it is more challenging, but Thomas was an amazing collaborator. He gave me fantastic guidance. it's hard because there's so many things to balance, the children versus space versus technology versus that fear and progress and excitement and elation. So we had to balance a lot of emotions.
Well, and you were saying that you were like that kid and then transitioned to music. I say STEM reaches out to everything. I mean, I'm a filmmaker and a nurse. Thomas, I love the young lady in your film who, it's just so like a kid that it's like, I'm going to be a marine biologist. No, now I'm going to be an astronaut. No, now I'm in this. and the fact that she was throwing herself wholeheartedly into this learning experience. And that's what it's about. Because you see the one kid that answered like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I was like, well, that's great, because you should experience everything, try everything, as long as it's legal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, those kids were, that was a part of the process that I thought was fascinating as well, is to see them just kind of really commit to this new idea. And like, it was almost more impressive to me than I think it was even to them. Like, they're 10 and they've coded satellites and touched space already. So now it's like, where do they go from here? Like, that's just an amazing thought. Who knows? But it's not just, this is a small part of that program. I mean, there's been almost 20,000 kids who have gone through that Zero Robotics program, and it's going to return again next year with a new satellite. We just figured that all out this past week, actually, how it's going to move forward. So I'm very proud of what they've done. And this is, obviously I made a film about these kids in particular in this class, but it's not just there. It's, anybody can access and be a part of it. It's free. It's an equitable program, at least, and we're all trying to make sure that, inclusion is a major part of where we're going in the future. I mean, that's the theme of the film, about working together to solve big problems. And the program is representative of that, and the film is as well. That was something that was really important to me, and working with Penka on the music to give it a universal feel, with thematic, like I miss themes in movies these days in particular as well. Like, and that was one thing I know Penka and I talked about early on is let's bring a theme to this story, and really, like, have it have motifs and different variations, but it's still, it's kind of holding it all together, and it's a bridge to where we're all going. I think this curiosity, this excitement.
Curiosity and working together. The kids in your documentary, just one of the times I cried watching it is, and I'm assuming you've all seen it by now because you're at the Q&A, that when at regionals, when they placed fourth, and rather than, oh, they cheated, oh, la, 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 they're like, how can we help the winning team move on? And they got excited by just, I mean, you didn't see, you saw a little bit of disappointment because they're 10, but it's like, well, how can we help, this other school? And then they just became a one team again. And that was just so wonderful. And hopefully you get depressed about the world, and then you watch a documentary like this, and it's like, oh, there are people that don't just want to bicker and fight. And it's like, well, I didn't win, but how can I help you win? So.
Oh yeah, it was an amazing thing to see, honestly. It really, even like editing the film through COVID was like incredibly therapeutic at times. To kind of have that reminder that we're all, we can all do this together and work together and have some hope. And despite that period of darkness, and obviously we're not all through it yet, we're in a virtual Q&A still in this experience, but giving the world like some hope through the eyes of the next generation is like really powerful, because we're just reminded that they're going to inherit this world that we leave behind. There's always going to be a next generation. And it makes us hopefully just be a little more selfless, selfless and kind of encouraging, and that's just, it was such a touching experience for me to see that and be reminded of that kind of hope and dreams, I guess.
So we can combine them and do scuba diving in space?
That's what, well, you know, like there's like what I mentioned, the Mission Astro Access, like they're, I think doing the parabola flights, with disabled and, you know, I mean, I like, and as Cody and Shannon pointed out as well before, obviously diving and, you know, being in the water, you know, Adrian and even Zero Gravity talks about the similarities of space and being in the water and how like alike they really are. I haven't been to space yet, but I feel like I went with them. And I can only imagine, but hopefully that's where our future is headed.
Yeah, I was really, I told
Okay.
Shannon, I was like, I'm so happy that they put our films together because it really kind of showcases the challenge of the human spirit, body, and mind. I mean, kids doing STEM, that's a challenging perspective, you know, and endeavor. And same thing for people with disabilities, like the challenge of scuba diving has led to a possibility for them as well. So I really like that our films were combined.
And about inclusion too. I think both films were.
Oh, yes, yes. So we're going to be wrapping up here. I'd like to go around the room. We're going to go Thomas, Shannon, then Penka. Where will you show your films next? How are you going to get them out to a bigger audience? Obviously, everyone in the world's watching the Albuquerque Festival, but what's next?
Of course. Well, right now we have festivals through November. And so I would just recommend everybody to check our website to stay updated and our social media. Both are Zero Gravity Doc. So zerogravitydoc.com and, you know, at Zero Gravity Doc on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're playing in Heartland International Film Festival in a couple weeks. And there's a few that I can't announce yet, but I'm really excited about. And the hope is that by early next year, we'll have a wide release with the film, whether that's streaming or otherwise is to be determined. But the end result is, where I really want this film to be is in the classroom. We've had a couple of student like kind of test screenings with teachers, and the response has just been kind of, you know, unbelievable. I think what I wasn't prepared for when I made the film actually was that is to see how important it was for the kids to have heroes that were just like them.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really want to make sure continues to happen, because even if a kid isn't you know, like doesn't want to do STEM, there's still a lot of inspiration and just about chasing your dreams and the kind of the triumph of the human spirit, you know, that are valuable, critical thinking, working together. All, you know, there's a lot of value that can be discussed in the classroom with the film that's not just exclusively about space and science. And you know, some of the reviews even from the students have been like, you know, kids do have a lot to say and like have a voice in this world, but they don't often get it. And so my hope is that this film helps change that a little bit.
Okay, thanks. Shannon, where might we see your documentary after?
Yeah, we are still going through the festival circuit as well, and have a couple of can't announce yet screenings that will be happening as well. But then because this was more of a short, we hope the next step will be a feature. And so we will have this streaming for people to view on social media. It's on Vimeo now, just because it was more of a step one in this process. And we're hoping the next step will be the feature.
I also, I'm also a peer mentor for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. So I get matched up with people who are newly paralyzed, newly injured. Mm-hmm. And on occasions, like I'll send them the clip of the film just for them to sort of take them out of themselves in the depression and darkness that really is so easy to fall into. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of the same way with Zero Gravity. It does offer, you know, I like it in the hands of people with disabilities, you know, to kind of motivate them and encourage them on what's possible.
And Penka, so obviously you're not going to put out another documentary, but what's next for you? Are you scoring anything new or?
Oh, well, first, stay tuned for the release of the soundtrack, which will coincide with the release of the documentary on all digital platforms, and check it out when it's released. And I'm really excited for the filmmakers here. And I have a bunch of projects, but they will come out next year. So thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. Oh, you guys have been great. And seriously, both the docs made me cry in a good way, but just really, I hate the word inspiring, but it really was, because I learned computer on a punch system. Okay. So, and my father worked when the Pentagon first opened, and later, don't worry, government, he didn't spill any secrets, but later he would tell us about the computers there and how it was just a marvel, and one would take up the size of my house, to compute one thing. And I think he would just be amazed, especially that the girls are getting into it. And, so I thought of him. So both films bring me back to my family. And so, and my other sister teaches STEM, and at the university level, she's getting she's been mentoring the kids, the young girls, and getting them up to the college. So any other thoughts, questions, compliments for each other? Have been great complimenting
I would
each
like
other.
to thank you guys. Thank you guys for, Cody already said, thank you for having us, because it takes platforms to get it, to bring awareness. Thank you to my sister. Thank you to our mom who made this also happen. All the participants that were in our film, everyone who helped us. Our composer is actually sitting right here as well. Thank you, babe, for our music, because I agree, music is definitely a make or break for film. So yeah, just want to say thank you, so much gratitude. And Thomas, we should sync up.
Definitely.
The next thing.
Definitely. I didn't even express this, but Zero Gravity started as a short film too, actually. So I can absolutely understand the desire to take something that is valuable and important, and make sure that it expands to the right places. So absolutely would love to continue this conversation with you. It's a pleasure to meet you all. And thank you to AFMX as well for having us. And again, it takes an audience, it takes people to rally behind you for those things to happen. So thank you all for watching our Q&A and our movies as well.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, audience.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Shannon, Cody, and thank God, most of all, Andrea, for this inspiring Q&A. It is, both films, I totally agree with Andrea that they were very moving and very important, timely films. And one of the things that Ivan and Melody and I have really enjoyed during this whole process is watching filmmakers support filmmakers during these Q&As, watching how they communicate, how they support each other. And it's not just about networking, but really furthering the message of their films. So thank you so much for that. If you happen to miss any part of it, no worries, we have it recorded and it will be available online until October 11th. Stay tuned for our next film block, which is coming up very shortly at 1:30 p.m. Mountain. It's our film block with I'll Be There and Vinyl Nation. And remember to go in and vote for all of your favorite films so that we can announce our audience award for on Sunday, September 26th at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That will be on our Facebook page. Until then, have a great day. If you have any other further questions about remaining events, catch us at our website at afmxnm.com. Thank you.
Thank you.